Slightly inspired. Fight.
Welcome everyone to the first episode of the Yaltopya podcast. I hope every single one of you is doing okay. In these harsh times, in Corona times, I think it's one of the things we would like to emphasize is that you keep yourself safe, and wherever you are, wherever you live in the world currently, I think you should take the necessary precautions to keep yourself safe. So this is our podcast on technology. We're going to be discussing about tech, consoles, PCs in detail in a very, I think, casual matter. And now I would like to introduce my colleague, which will be doing this podcast with me, Kerod. Please say hello.
Hello, people. I'm Kerod.
Yeah. It's so as for I think we need some brief introduction. So my name is Kirubel, and my colleague Kero will be hosting the Altopetic podcast for from now to the future. And now I hope you'll be seeing multiple episodes of our podcast. So today's topic is going to be we'll be discussing is about PlayStation 5 and the Xbox. So we'll be looking at the specs. We'll be looking at what kind of exclusive games they have, and when they're going to get released and how much they're going to be sold for, and also our verdict on who's going to win this battle. So I think we should start the discussion with the PlayStation 5. I think, Kero, wouldn't you? I think that's a better way to start than the Xbox.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So some key points on the PlayStation 5. So I think first of all we'll be discussing on the actual specs. So we're going to be comparing the actual specs, and now we're going to be trying to compare it with the actual previous version of the PlayStation, which was the PlayStation 4. So as you can see, when it compares to the PlayStation 4, well, you can see that there is a huge difference when it comes to the performance. Generally, as you can see, let's say, I think from the PlayStation 4, it has 8 times the performance right now, currently, the PlayStation 4. And some of the key features is also as well is the CPU and the GPU have increased in speed and also threads. The threads they're using also have increased in exponentially right now. Currently, the PlayStation 5 has a 3.5, which is very large than the previous versions, which is a 1.6 and a 2.1. But you have to note that the PlayStation 5 has a variable frequency. That means it won't be hitting 3.5 gigahertz multiple times, but it will be hitting around, I think, 2.3. They're rumoring until 2.3 to 3.5 gigahertz for range. Also, the teraflop section is also quite I think double as much, where the PlayStation 4 had 1.4 teraflops, and the PlayStation 4 Pro had 4.2 teraflops, and the new PlayStation 5 has 10.3 teraflops. Well, teraflops, by the way, Kero, when we were discussing about teraflops in general, they're just ways they can market the console more. Their teraflops refers to how many cycles of instructions they can do at a certain moment. And do you think it's a right way to market it? I think the numbers are quite exaggerated at the.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. It's not like an accurate representation of. It's not. It does not give you the full picture at least. It's an accurate representation of the specs, but it does not give you the full picture. So teraflops, it stands for trillion floating operations per second. It's the amount of floating operations that your GPU can do, right?
Yes.
So when a certain game scene is rendered, like there are a lot of polygons to render, so a lot of triangles to render, and in order to do that, you need to do floating operations, what we call floating operations. That is the mathematical operations on decimals, basically, right?
Floats, means floating points,
and like a high teraflop count is like correlated with increased performance in GPU, but it does not give you the full picture. And yes, you're right. I think Xbox and Microsoft are notorious for this. They try to use that spec to boast on the PlayStation and Sony.
The Sony, most definitely, because I think we'll be discussing that further in the episode, or when we're discussing about the Xbox in general. I think they have, I think a bit, I think a larger number of teraflops than the PlayStation 5. So they're using it to market it. They're using that as a marketing point, or as a point to beat PlayStation. And I think, yeah, generally, I think that's sums it up roughly from how much of a performance difference there is between the previous versions of the PlayStation. As you can see, generally, when you look at it, how much is the increase? Well, from the PlayStation 4 perspective, the PlayStation 5 has 8 times the performance of the PlayStation 4, and when it comes to the PlayStation 4 Pro, it has 2.5 times the PlayStation 4 performance, and that's quite a lot of that's a quite a big jump for the PlayStation 5 to do. I think for them to do actually 4K rendering, yeah, they've been privatizing. I think everybody has listened. Not everybody has 120 Hz TVs. I think, isn't that an issue, Kieran, when you look at the consoles in general? Like from the previous versions, you can use any TV, but right now is being dubbed out like to use a 4K 120 Hz screens, which is, I think, unrealistic.
Definitely. Like you're trying to say, like everybody doesn't have 4K TVs, let alone 4K 120 FPS, 120 hertz televisions, and you're right, definitely. But like an increase in usage of 4K televisions and the cheapening of prices of 4K televisions has been a noticed effect in the market. And
Yeah,
maybe I think they've both done their due diligence, right?
yeah,
They wouldn't have marketed the consoles as 4K gaming machines and possible of a possible resolution of up to 8K if they didn't know that if they didn't have any information on households having 4K televisions,
yeah,
most households at least having 4K televisions. And
yeah.
I think that the next move of the market is 4K, definitely.
Definitely, yeah. I think right now, currently, the hardware we have is currently can achieve 4K, true 4K at the very least. Right
Yeah,
now, the
definitely.
current the current generations of the consoles, I think, will achieve that kind of feat. So from that version,
Yeah,
I think,
don't quote me on it, but I think Mike Kearney of PlayStation of
yeah,
Sony was asked once, how can you achieve true 4K resolution with games? Like what GPU, what kind of GPU power do you need to achieve true 4K
yeah,
gaming? And he was quoted saying, I think 8 teraflops of GPU power is required to game at true 4K
yeah.
for all games unrestricted. And both have achieved above that. I think the PlayStation is at 10 teraflops and the Xbox is at 12 teraflops, right?
Yeah. The Xbox is at 12 teraflops and this one has 10. That's why they are using that teraflop marketing scheme to actually beat the PlayStation in some aspect of the game at the very least.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think for comparison on the older versions, I think that's enough. But also, the PlayStation comes in two standards, where you have a PlayStation 5, the normal PlayStation 5, where you can use CDs. We have Ultra HD CDs, that's Ultra Blu-ray CDs right now currently, for a higher quality of watching movies, and also the digital version, where there is no CD slot, just the digital version of the PlayStation 5. So I think that's a great option to have, I think, for the consumer generally. So I think moving forward when it comes to from the performance,
Should I go over the Xbox Series X
yeah, I
specs
think I think you
and
should.
get into?
Yeah, I think you should.
Okay.
Yeah,
So like the Xbox Series X is definitely a jump from the Xbox One, the original Xbox One, and the
okay,
Xbox One X.
okay,
And we can go over the preliminary specs. The CPU is an 8-core CPU. It's an AMD APU. Maximum clock of 3.8 gigahertz and 3.6 gigahertz with AMD's technology called SMT. That is their hyper threading solution.
okay.
Intel's analog solution. Their GPU can achieve 12 teraflops, 1.825 gigahertz locked. They have 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM.
Yeah,
They are promising a frame rate of up to 120 frames per second,
yeah,
and of course, a resolution of up to 8K. And the Xbox Series X, of course, it's only one SKU, right? Unlike the PlayStation 5, which comes in two SKUs, the digital and the one with the Blu-ray drive.
yeah,
This one will come with an optical solution, the HD the Ultra HD actually, right? The Ultra HD Blu-ray disc drive
Yes,
and a
Ultra
storage
HD.
of
Blu-ray.
a storage of 1 terabytes of NVMe SSD. So like all of these specs are amazing. Even if you had no idea about the specs of the Xbox One X or the original Xbox One, like the vanilla edition, they're amazing. You wouldn't imagine such specs in a console package, right?
Yeah.
But when you compare them to the original Xbox One, it's just night and day. And we can go over them. Little improvement in the optical drive, of course. Xbox has always been known to offer like a one-stop solution for entertainment, but other specs, RAM for example, it used to be 8 gigabytes of DDR3, and this was shared RAM, by the way, shared RAM. So like
Yeah.
the actual RAM would share with the video RAM. And the CPU was an 8-core AMD CPU with 1.75 gigahertz, now possible up to 3.8 gigahertz with the Xbox Series X. A GPU, like the clock speeds on the GPU used to be 800 megahertz.
Oh,
800 megahertz, and
that's
the
bad, I think.
original teraflop count was 1.31.
Yeah.
Definite improvements. The storage used to be a hard drive solution at 50. As I was saying, like the storage used to be a hard drive, 500 gigabytes worth came with the original Xbox One,
Okay.
and it was a 5400 RPM hard drive, which was very slow even for then, because there were solutions for 7200 RPM widely available in the PC marketplace. Of course, it offered cloud storage and the like, but I think that's enough for a comparison base. We
Basis.
can continue to the next topic.
Yeah, I think as you just mentioned, and I think you mentioned 8K resolution. By the way, the PlayStation 5 has also advertised that they can do 8K. Again, I think we
Yeah.
all should be considering what kind of games they will be advertising at 8K. They'll probably be indie games, I think. Don't you agree here?
Yeah, I think it's going to be indie games and some other very light games. Usually, it could be some games that are developed by the in-house developers. You know, the
Yeah.
developers on Xbox and Microsoft and Sony's payroll. I think they can fully utilize the power of the Xbox and the PS5, unlike developers on the outside.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think they need to be in-house, and I need to know really, really well how the hardware works, and I think they can make something work using that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
they most definitely can do that. Also, I think we should be considering. I think we should be. I think we should go to discuss on the controllers and general aesthetics of the PlayStation 5. So I think the PlayStation 5 generally looks better than the Xbox, which is just I think the Xbox I think is like a mid-tower PCs. I think one of those mid-tower PCs where you can pack the GPU and the hard drive and the power supply at the same time, and a small mini tower box, and that's how I feel about the Xbox. It feels like a PC.
Yeah. It definitely looks like those small form factor PCs.
Yeah.
You see, like with the small rectangular shape.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think they should have done better than a rectangle as a shape. I think the Sony one.
I guess, but the advantage of having such, I guess, an aestheticless design
Yeah,
is that nobody is offended. Nobody will have an opinion on it. You get me?
that is true. Yeah.
With the PS5, like many people were meaning on the shape and
Yeah. I've
the
seen a
overall
vase.
look of the
I've seen
console.
a vase made of it. They put some flowers inside the PlayStation 5.
Base,
So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, of course, it's a gamer's utility web. Someone who buys this thing, is going to be using it for gaming or something of entertainment base. So I think the general aesthetic doesn't matter as long as it looks badass. I think that's what matters to us, especially the RGB lighting. If you noticed, like they in this console they have added RGB lighting, which has recently can become really cheap. By the way, that's why they added. I read an article that said that this kind of RGB equipment have been getting cheaper and cheaper. That's why we're seeing them in multiple PC builds currently, right, as well.
And
Just
I really
aesthetically.
don't think so. RGB strips and LED strips in general were very cheap even to begin with.
But
Are they even RGB strips? Like, can they be configured? I think they're only monocolored, right? For
yeah,
the
I think
PlayStation 5, it's just a blue color.
I think so. I'm not sure, but I think it's a monocolored process. I don't think you can customize the
Yeah.
what kind of lighting you have on the PlayStation's LED lightings. But I'm just to mention out there. I don't think if it was well. Generally, I think the RGB colors have been really cheap because of the the demand for the certain that gadget by itself, because everybody is using them to make their PCs you know a lot cooler. And I think the RGB spec, that's why it's got cheaper, I think, and a lot of people actually start producing them generally right now. That's what I wanted to mention. So I think we should go forward to the PlayStation 5 actual joysticks. So yeah, so continuing on the joysticks, so I think generally the PlayStation One has changed a lot when, especially when it comes to the dual shocks. So I think also the adaptive triggers as well. So they've made some adjustments for you to feel more. I think there isn't a huge difference, but I think some games like some PlayStation 5 exclusives have taken advantage of the actual new design of the PlayStation 5's joystick. So the DualShocks have been improved, so you can have a more immersive experience while playing the games. But the rest of them, some other changes that have been made were the adaptive triggers, where the triggers, when being pressed and when being used, they adapt to the situation, when the situation you're using to your fingers. So they're just generally adaptive, but I don't think that different from the previous versions of the controller. But yeah, I think the overall look has changed as well, and they have removed some buttons as well. Where the share button, I think they've removed the share button. If Carol, if you seen the actual joystick,
The PS5 controller, yeah.
yeah,
I think the share button has been removed. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think generally some, but yeah, I think they didn't have any use. That was one of the problems they mentioned,
Yeah, it had
because
some uses, but like it
yeah,
was a clunky feature. Like when they first announced it, I think there was a lot of hype around it, and they said that they had all these features built into that. But I don't think many developers outside the developers
inside
employed by
PlayStation,
Sony
yeah,
made use of it,
yeah,
and it was generally clunky. It wasn't responsive, and imagine this: you're playing a game and your thumbs usually are on the left analog stick, right? The left
yeah.
thumb, your left thumb, and you have to move it to the share button to use it. It's a clunky feature.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I think I get your point. Yeah, it's very difficult to actually press that share button. I think the initial idea of the button was created where for people to share their clips. I think generally share their clips or share something they've did inside the game. So I think in that aspect, I think PlayStation has. I don't think they have done.
Yeah,
I don't think they've done enough
yeah, but
to.
on the other hand, Xbox is adding the share button this time around, right?
Yeah,
On the controller.
yeah. I think they're also connecting it to
We'll see
Mixer.
how the dynamic works.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think they're also, working with Mixer, their own streaming platform, into integrating the Xbox in the Mixer platform at the same time,
Yeah,
so you can share your clips at Mixer, which is very smart, by the way. I think that's a good
very
idea.
smart. Definitely.
That's a good idea by to do so. I think that's a very great idea. So generally, I think the aesthetics, generally talking, I think it's much more appealing to than the Xbox. So I think we should. I think I should stand by there. I think you should give your thoughts on the actual Xbox controller, by the way. So do they, except
Okay.
from adding the sharing button, what have they added more?
Design wise, it hasn't changed that much. There is still the four button layout on the right hand side, two analog sticks, similar layout, the
Yeah,
arrow buttons, and three keys above the analog buttons, as well as the Xbox share button.
yeah,
And like there hasn't been an overall aesthetic change as much as the PS5's new controller.
yeah,
However, there are some small, slight changes. Like they were asked about the changes of the rounding of the D-pads. They said it was to make it more comfortable for small hands without making the controllers uncomfortable for large hands as well.
yeah,
And this is very good. They said they would make the controller more usable and easier to use for hundreds and millions of users.
yeah.
That's very good. And they were quoted saying, accommodating hands similar to those of an average 8-year-old, they said.
Yeah, I think they really work on the actual D-pad, the actual controller they have. They want every player currently that just picks up the controller to actually play the game with minimum problems with the actual controllers. And they're trying
But
to,
on the internals, like
yeah,
regarding compatibility on connectivity, they're working very hard. Like they also have the xCloud platform
yeah,
where you can stream your games, and they want like overall compatibility, easier compatibility with phones, computers, and the like. So it's a wireless controller, and it should be easy to connect to your computer, to your phone, as well as to your console. And in order to make sure the console connection the is the best
yeah,
it can be, they're still using the Xbox wireless radio controller,
yeah,
and that has been very good so far. They also have added Bluetooth feature in order to make it easier to connect with other devices. They also say that the wireless radio will reduce latency, and they are also
yeah.
adding a share button, as I alluded to before. And you're right saying they're trying to integrate this feature into their Mixer platform as well.
Mm.
They're saying that gaming is an important way people connect with each other. It's how friends hang out and stay in touch, and they should be able to capture and share epic or meme-worthy moments, they will
Yes,
say.
they say that.
What do you think about the Xbox controller?
Yeah, I think, yeah, as I mentioned before, they want to, interact with any person that actually just picks up the controller and uses it for anything else. They want you to use it for your PC while you're gaming with your PC. They want you to use it while you're gaming with the Xbox. They want you to use that joystick, to share. Especially that share button, I think, is intentionally made for people to join the Mixer platform. They want content creators there. They're really they're trying really hard to take away content creators from Twitch to Mixer. I think we're going to have another discussion on this on another episode, but they have also brought in a lot of famous streamers like Shroud into their platform
Ninja.
for, yeah, as well as him as well. And they're trying to, they're trying to build something over there, and I think that's a good way to go about it. And I think generally the Xbox joystick from the PlayStation joystick, I think that Xbox joystick is really comfortable, I have to say, than the PlayStation 5. I haven't tried the PlayStation 5 joystick. If the Xbox joystick is the same as the previous was, I think it's very comfortable to use generally.
Yeah, I have to say,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
generally, when you're playing games, especially games other than those involving first-person action,
yeah,
I think the Xbox controllers were good,
yeah.
starting from the Xbox 360.
Yeah, yeah, they really take a lot of time to actually build those. I think the joystick part they have done really well. So I think we should move forward. I think our last discussion on this is going to be about frame rates and generally about the resolutions. Then we'll move forward to the exclusive. And so, what do you think about the frame rates, by the way? So the PlayStation has a lot of things have been said from the PlayStation team, especially about their exclusive. One of their exclusive games where GranTurismo is right now being advertised by him. So I think the CEO himself actually said that they can run the game at 240 FPS, and that's quite a big claim. Do you think that's achievable? 240 FPS on Gran Turismo?
204 this needs to be contextualized,
Yeah,
like 240 fps can be achieved on certain resolutions, and it cannot be achieved on other resolutions with the hardware that you have in the PlayStation 5.
okay.
And if you were to say to me, can you achieve 240 fps on 1080p on Gran Turismo, a game that's developed by developers on the inside?
Yes.
I would say definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have some trouble believing 240 fps on native 4K. Maybe some upscaled
2K?
1080p or upscaled 2K.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I think it's achievable definitely, but
Yeah.
on select resolutions and on select cases.
Is there anything that compares to any claims that have been made by the Xbox side, by the way, in any games in particular that show? Like,
They haven't said 240 FPS,
yeah,
but they are quoted saying they have said the Xbox One, the Xbox Series X is going to achieve up to 120 FPS. And like that phrasing, it needs attention, right? Up to 120 FPS means that not all games are going to run on
the
120
20
FPS,
FPS,
and we
yeah.
wouldn't expect it to run 120 FPS on 4K all games. Like I wouldn't expect Battlefield 6 on launch to run at 120 FPS on the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5, right?
Yeah,
At least at 4K.
yeah, I agree.
And yeah, but they haven't made any claims of up to 240 FPS on any game.
Yeah. So
But
I,
like the important thing to know about this is, let's say you can play Gran Turismo on up to 240 FPS. How many people are gonna play Gran Turismo on 240 FPS? Like,
I don't think it would matter. I don't think it doesn't matter. I think if
yeah,
they,
I don't think it matters
yeah,
either.
yeah,
Like how many, like if you're going to buy a console, you're going to play on the couch, right, on a
yeah,
large television screen.
yeah.
And as far as I know, current technology, we don't have a television that supports 100 that supports 240 hertz refresh rate.
Yeah.
So what's the point? I think it's just a brag.
Yeah, it's just a bragging point. I think 120 hertz, when 120 hertz achieving TVs and actually going to 120 frames is a very good achievement by itself. So I think
Yeah, yeah,
when playing racing games, I don't think you'd notice that much. Hope I don't think
yeah.
there's there's a difference there. I think
That's what the point.
yeah, I don't think you notice that much. But also, I think if they can achieve such kind of FPS, I think we should all get consoles generally if they can achieve if they I think so, I really do
Yeah,
but I think they're just only a marketing point, so I think we should be really wary of them. I think we should, as you just said, contextualize what they say, and also check for ourselves if they actually have achieved that kind of
yeah. If I
performance.
can add a point, like
Yeah,
the beauty of such features is that it adds options to the consumer. It adds options, alternatives for the user, right?
yeah,
If you want to run your game at 60 FPS, you can run your game at 60 FPS. If you
uh,
just have a television for 60 FPS, right?
yeah,
Maybe if you run your game at 60 FPS as opposed to 120 FPS, then you will have increased graphical fidelity.
yes,
Like we do on the PC, right?
yeah,
Maybe we run games at 30 FPS, but we have beautiful graphics.
yeah,
If we are playing multiplayer games, then we run them at the maximum possible frame rate, but maybe at a lower graphical fidelity. And such advantages are very important for the consumer. And when console gamers, I think, are becoming more picky consumers, like in the PC market, and I think they deserve this. What do you think about it?
yeah, I think they really do. I think they really deserve the high refresh rate games. I think if they actually, according to their studies, if there are actually 4K TVs that support 120 Hz, I think people should actually get to experience their games at a higher refresh rate. I believe 120 is a very good sweet spot for any game, actually, to play any game right now, currently.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Even if in the current market there aren't that much televisions that have such high refresh
yes,
rates, and
yeah.
it's like an alien concept for televisions to have
A high refresh rate, yes.
such high frame rate, such high refresh rates. But
Yeah.
like even if there aren't any televisions right now that support 120 hertz, but there are,
I think there are, yeah.
hypothetically, let's
Yeah.
say
Okay.
there aren't,
Okay.
and television producing companies will look at this, manufacturers will look at this, and they will say that's a market, we should get on this,
Yeah.
and I think people will move and grasp at it. And the advantages to such manufacturers is that both the PlayStation and the Xbox will be launching with targets of 120 FPS on 4K, right?
Yeah. I think, Kero, I think we should also mention that PlayStation 5, I think, I think the PlayStation 5 joystick has a mic, built-in mic, by the way. So most,
Yeah, it
yeah,
does.
I think we missed that point, but I think we should mention that there are actually built-in mics. I think most console players have actually faced that kind of issue where their teammates don't have mics. I think that solves a lot of issues as well, by the way, just to mention that. So I think we should move forward to the special and exclusives right now. So I think since the PlayStation has a lot of games, I should give Carol the. I think I should give Carol. Yeah, I should give you the platform to speak about Xbox. Yeah, so-called exclusives. What do they have? What do they have ready though? What do they have ready right now? Currently, what do they have ready?
They don't have much games ready,
Yeah.
but there are a couple that are ready for the Xbox One X launch.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go through some of the confirmed Xbox Series X games that will be launching with the game, as well as having release dates of post-launch.
Okay.
We can mention Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It's not an Xbox exclusive,
Yeah.
and but it's expected to be available on the launch. Battlefield 6 post-launch to 2021, but I think we should focus on the exclusives, right?
Yeah, I think we should focus on the exclusive, and I think most of they have really big games. By the way, for everybody that's listening to us, they really have big games. But generally, we're trying to look at like why would you buy the Xbox for? Some people buy just consoles for specific games. Like you buy the Nintendo Switch for Mario. Like there are special games that, where you buy special, where you spend money to actually play those special games. So I think we should focus on the specials.
Okay, I'll go through some of the exclusives.
Yeah.
There's a game called Bright Memory Infinite. It's still not confirmed, but it's expected to be confirmed to be an Xbox exclusive. Call of the Sea is also expected to be confirmed.
Okay.
There's also Everwild. There's also Forza, of course, Motorsport 8. There's Gears 5, Halo Infinite, Orphan of the Machine. Some of these, of course, are new titles like Score, Second Extinction,
Yeah.
Senua Saga Hellblade 2, which is expected to be a very, very great game,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
There's also the games Ascent, the Medium. Okay, there's also the Medium.
Okay.
These are the confirmed Xbox Series X games,
Yeah.
and that are expected to be exclusive, as well as those that are confirmed to be exclusive. There are some rumored Xbox Series X games
Yeah.
that are exclusive, but they're not that much. There's Microsoft Flight Simulator. If anyone is interested in that,
Jesus.
Crossfire X,
Flight simulator.
Ground.
Jesus. Who's gonna buy it for
Yeah,
a flight simulator? It's very difficult.
yeah. Well, nobody. Like
Uh,
Xbox main selling point was never exclusives, at least
yeah.
since the Xbox One. And if you're going to buy the console for an exclusive game, I think you're not making the right choice, because most of these games will be available on PC.
Yeah. I think we should.
Because I think Microsoft
Yeah.
is trying to integrate the platforms, like PC and Xbox.
Yes, I think they're trying to do that, but I think we should leave that until the last point. So I think let me discuss about the PlayStation 5 exclusive.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I think we give finishing points generally on our thoughts on which one you should buy for what case. I think we should. We're going to discuss that on the final at the finally of the podcast. So I think, yeah, of course, the PlayStation 5 has a lot of exclusives. Jesus, the games they have. I have to say, they are working. Like you just stated, like the Xbox selling point is not games. Right now, they don't have enough games to say enough games to compel you to buy the Xbox, because most of the games they have are available on PC and also available on the PlayStation 5. So that's a huge problem when it comes to the Xbox. But let me mention some of the PlayStation 5 exclusive. So Horizon Forbidden West, which is I think the continuation of the previous Horizon game, which I have to say looks really good. Jesus, it looks really good. And they also have the Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. I think the Spider-Man games are really becoming really famous, especially on the console games. A lot of people are buying Spider-Man games. I don't personally like them. Do you like them, Kira? Do you like any Spider-Man games in general?
Yeah, yeah. I just for some history,
Yeah.
I played the original Spider-Man as well as Spider-Man 2 and the Amazing Spider-Man on PC. They have some clunky controls, and the game is really meant to be played on the PlayStation. It was horrible port on PC, but definitely they're good games. And the Spider-Man that launched on the PS4 was a great game, unanimously great game. Everybody agreed.
Yeah, I think so. I think that specific Spider-Man you just mentioned, I think it was a great game. I haven't played it generally, so I cannot say much. But I think they're moving the right direction when it comes to the Spider-Man games, making them an exclusive, especially for the PlayStation 4. And also the game we mentioned before, the so-called 240 frames, the GranTurismo, is also one of the exclusives on the PlayStation 4. Also, there are games called Ratchet and Clank. I think Kirill played this game. What are your thoughts about this
Yeah.
game? What are your thoughts about this game?
Like I played the Ratchet and Clank on the PlayStation 2. I don't remember the specific game I played, but I played one of the Ratchet and Clank games.
Yeah.
It was pretty good, very enjoyable. I think it was released around the time Jack 2 games were released, and they were pretty good. And I think the Ratchet and Clank franchise overall has been received well by consumers.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. I agree. I think I haven't played the game much. I think some of the things we have also need to mention was the ray tracing ability, and also I think all of you have seen by this time the Unreal Engine gameplay by PlayStation 5. I think we should dedicate a episode to just just the Unreal Engine and the ray tracing part for the consoles. So I think we should make it another episode. Don't you agree, Kieran? We'll be explaining about how those things work currently and what games they work on. Don't you
Yeah,
on
definitely.
another episode, I think you should expect that. I think we'll be talking about how 8K and also ray tracing could be a possibility for the consoles on another episode, man. So also one of the games that come as exclusively to the PlayStation is Demon Souls. Where for me, if you're not angry in this world, if you have the patience of I don't know, you have to be really patient to play this game. It's a very difficult game. It's from I think a game developer we all know notoriously from Software, which makes the Dark Souls franchise also, and also the game called Shakiro Dies Twice, Shadow Dies Twice. And their games are difficult. I have to say, for someone like me, I would probably throw the towel in the first 3 minutes. I remember playing by the way, Dark Souls, and now I'm completely stuck in the prep phase, in the training phase. That's how difficult the game is. That's how difficult the game is. The game needs, precise maneuvering. I don't know. And if you have if you have the patience for it, and if you don't get aggravated quite quickly, I think this is a game. This is a challenging game.
Yeah, generally, if you have the patience of an elephant,
Yes.
I think you should play those kinds of games.
Yeah, man. I don't think even having the patience of an elephant is going to get you to this game, man. It's going to damage you so much. Like I know people that haven't slept a day completely trying to beat a certain boss. It might take you even weeks to defeat one boss.
Yeah,
So
it would.
it would. So I think you should be very wary of that game. And I'm really afraid of that. I hate those games from software. I think they make beautiful games, but they're really difficult. They have to. I don't know. We'll talk about it some other time, but it's a very difficult game. There's also Project Atia. Also, there are. I think Saxbox a big adventure. So I think this is a very animated. This is a kiddish game from Little Big Planet. Also, the Astro Prelude, I think this is a VR game as well. Also takes away, as I just mentioned, I think some of the games have been using the dual sense controller to give you a more immersive gaming style. So this is one of the games. And also, I think something that interested me was Godfall, a fantasy role-playing game focused on third-person melee combat. So it's just hunting, looting. So I think this can be a very interesting game. And I think one of the famous people actually it was published by one of the famous game makers, which is Gearbox. So I think that might be an interesting game. And I think for exclusives, the PlayStation wins, man. Like they have a lot of games. I think they have a lot of games
Yeah,
in the pub.
no question.
Yeah,
No question.
yeah,
Xbox is dead.
yeah.
They don't arrive at
They don't rival, especially exclusive voice. I
Yeah,
think.
but like I wanted to mention something
Yeah.
before we move on, and like uh, Digital Foundry, and the Digital Foundry is a channel on YouTube. Like they do analysis on console games. They try to analyze frame rates uh, and certain technologies employed by consoles, like upscaling, checkerboard rendering, the like. And there's an article on Android Central. They used Digital Foundry's analysis, and they made like a frame rate analysis of the games and the frame rates that you can expect from the games, that the launch games on release. And they're saying these games will run on 30 FPS.
Yeah.
Ratchet and Clank, Stray, Returnal, Demon Souls. But Demon Souls can also offer a 60 FPS mode. It's also being touted to offer a 60 FPS mode. There's also Destruction All Stars, Horizon Forbidden West. They're saying probably 30 FPS, by the way, probably.
Oof,
Because of
Jesus.
the amount of textures there is, because of the ray tracing they're going to implement. The analysis is quite complex, and will leave they will leave
A link to
a
the
link to Digital Foundry's video in the description if you guys are interested in that. But the 60 FPS, GranTurismo 7, Sackboy, Godfall, Astro's Playroom, and the new Resident Evil will be probably 60 FPS on launch. And this is pretty bad for the PlayStation, if I'm going to be honest, because they're touting 120 FPS on 84K.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think that it's very difficult. As we just mentioned, they have a lot of exclusive games coming up, and also will be, as you just mentioned, I think Digital Foundry will have a very good detailed description of, especially the ray tracing and some of the games that PlayStation has been releasing.
Yeah.
But also, we'll also be taking time on the second episode. We'll be talking about how we'll actually be focusing on how ray tracing and actually the other games will be going, and other games, especially like the Cyberpunk, other games like this. We're going to take time to review those games as well. But for the time being, right now, for just generally of thinking of how they can achieve it, I think it's very difficult. By the way, they have a lot of games, and I think when building the PlayStation 5, they were focusing on the games. I think they really focused on the games. They really wanted to have exclusive games so you could buy the PlayStation 5. They didn't focus on the performance. But I think on the Xbox side, they actually went out of their way to actually build a better console than the PlayStation 5 is when it comes to performance, general performance.
Yeah, I think like we watched that shift, right?
Yeah.
Everybody agrees, and it's fact that the original the Xbox 360 was better than the PS3 hardware wise on launch. Then I think the paradigm shifted in favor of the PlayStation when the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One were released. The PlayStation 4 was by far the better console. By far the better console. But then Xbox was like, we don't have exclusives, we don't have games. What are we offering to the consumer?
Yeah.
We may have a better online platform, Xbox Live. We may have a better user interface, but apart from that, what makes us different? What makes us better than the PlayStation?
Yeah.
And I think in the mid-console release with the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S, I think they had much better hardware than their counterparts, the PS4 Pro.
Yeah, I agree. I think
we're going to see the same thing here.
Yeah, maybe. I think there may be the same outcome, but I think we should leave. Time will tell if it's going to be the same outcome. By the way, I wanted to mention something as a quick note. So if the Xbox Live, by the way, generally Xbox Live was for free for a certain time, but after a certain while they made it paid. By the way, the Xbox Live service, the online playing game on the consoles. So after they made it pay, after they make people pay to play online, the PlayStation 5 said, why don't the PlayStation actually said, why don't we make them play? So that's one aspect you should look at. I think that's why you're paying, by the way, just because of Xbox marketing. They say they made people pay for online games. Yeah, I just wanted to mention
they were offering. I think it's a good analysis, but the part you're missing is Xbox was offering a better and a superior product at the time.
Yeah, maybe.
You're right. Online services used to be free with the PlayStation 3. Even with there were no online services with that were paid on the PlayStation 2. I remember there were some online games on the PlayStation 2, like SOCOM. I think their Desert Storm was also online, but there weren't paid online services on the PlayStation 3. But if you're offering a superior product, I think you should get paid for it. I think it's just a general rule. And PlayStation also moved in that avenue, and there are many advantages to having Xbox Live and
A PlayStation Live? Yeah, of course, most definitely.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't have
Yes.
one. I'm just saying that it used to be a free service, and Xbox made it a paid service. Then after that, PlayStation said, "Why not?" Since
Yeah, definitely,
I
definitely.
think they could have said no. I'm just saying that they could have said no, and they could have continued with the free aspect. But it's business. Sometimes if you can abuse
I
the
guess.
if you can abuse the customer, they will definitely do it.
I wouldn't call it abuse on the customer,
Ah,
right?
I would say I would say so because if it was a free service for some time when you were releasing it at the very least, even the Xbox was free at the first moment, but after a certain time they made it paid. So that's unfair. For me, it's just about of Lala, we can make some money out of this. That's what the scheme was. So I
Yeah,
think
I guess, but
yeah
that would your analysis would be correct if there weren't other options. You see, the
yeah of course
PlayStation at the time, the PlayStation 3 was offering free online services. You could just buy the game, go online, play on the servers, right?
yeah
But people weren't doing that. The PlayStation suffered because of that.
yeah
Because the Xbox Live feature was paid, even initially,
yeah
they offered the superior product. They had the better user interface, they had the better servers, and overall
yeah
generally better. So I think moving to a paid model helped both of them.
yeah most definitely.
Whether that's
We don't
whether
know.
that's
We don't know for sure. But I think that might be something we might be discussing in the future. But
maybe
maybe we'll know so. So I think we should move with price predictions and our overall general thoughts on which Xbox, which console we should buy generally for what kind of needs. So according to the Forbes article I'm reading currently, so there have been a lot of leaks when it comes to the PlayStation 5. So there's a PlayStation 5, the one with the Ultra uh, Blu-ray DVD player and also the digital version of the Xbox. So they're touting the price around $500 US and 445 pounds generally. That's what we're hearing currently, and that's what the price predictions are currently looking at. So is that a fair price? I think so. I think so for what you're getting currently. Yes. What do you think, Kerl, about the Xbox? And what's the
definitely fair price for the specs that you are paying.
yeah.
Fair price.
Yeah, even the digital version, by the way, is quite cheaper. It's around $400, which is I think 39.99
Yeah,
currently.
some reports are also saying
Yeah,
450 pounds for the digital version and 499 pounds for the one with the Blu-ray drive, right?
yeah. I no, I think the digital version is $399 actually, and
Yeah,
the
yeah. Some reports are also saying that the digital version will
might
be
be the same.
450 pounds.
Okay,
And
it might be. We don't know. I think it's a bit low for the PlayStation digital version, even to be at $400. I think I think that's cheap. Don't you think so?
yeah, but when we come to the Xbox Series X as well, a prominent analyst released
Yeah.
they also suggested that the Xbox Series X could launch at 399 pounds. $399. So
Ooh,
specific, specifically to undercut Sony's potential PS5 price of $499.
man,
So
that's so low. That's oh my
yeah,
god.
yeah, that's definitely low. But what you don't know about these companies is like
Oh, they're gonna take a
maybe making the most amount of profit is not really
yeah, yeah,
the initial plan, you know?
yeah.
Like you may be hurt this time, but if many consoles are bought, you will definitely make the money up when you
In
sell
the
more
future,
games. Like
in the future, I think that's I think I agree. I completely agree. I think Microsoft is doing the long term plan. I think they're actually spending money right now. I don't think they're making profit currently. I don't think the Xbox franchise is making profit. I think after the Xbox One sale is when they started trying when they started actually making profit. But currently, I think I don't know if that's the price, man. That's a huge cost. I don't think they made a
yeah, I
console.
think they're waiting for PlayStation 5's announcement really
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the price.
So I think when it comes to the release date, around November. So I think most critics are predicting November since most PlayStation consoles get released on November. So there's been a release
Yeah.
date around November 29th. But I think, don't quote me on that, but I think it's going to be released around November. I believe it's around November, yeah. On the holidays, they're planning on Inter American holidays. So I believe they're going to get released on the holidays. What about the
Yeah.
Xbox? What do you think about the Xbox, by the way?
Yeah, the Xbox, I think similar release dates, just like the PS5.
Yeah, probably.
And
Maybe earlier.
the
Maybe.
price, yeah, maybe. The
Yeah.
price is also still to be announced,
Yeah.
but many are saying that the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 would release with the same price
Mm.
at $499, £499. Maybe there's also, as I mentioned, a prominent analyst who has been right on most of his leaks and most of his analyses. He's also saying the Xbox might, with the sole purpose of undercutting the PS5's price, may start at $399, £399. But we will wait to see. We'll wait to see.
Yeah. I think we'll wait to see. I think the time will tell about what the price will be. I think the Xbox might be releasing at first. Then the PlayStation 5 will continue, and the PlayStation 5 may make adjustment, by the way, on the price if they see the Xbox price being so too low.
Yeah,
It might be late
and
though.
yeah,
It might be late when they do
definitely.
so. Yeah.
There is no argument that this will be amazing for the consumer.
Yeah.
A
Most.
battle, a battle on price will be amazing for the consumer.
Yeah.
No question about it.
No question about that. Yeah, I think you'll find a cheaper console because of them actually trying to get
Undercut each other.
yeah, to get the chance to go to stay to be in your home, to be inside your home, and not to be that entertainment console. I'm sure they're gonna fight tooth and nail for this.
Definitely. Who's in nail, definitely.
Yeah, so I think so. So let's finalize the point. So which console do you think is the right one to buy currently? Like which one has the most value? Which one will get constant support, constant games, new games, new releases? That like we're hearing games like Last of Us, Cyberpunk, and there are different games that will be entertaining. And now, which platform do you think is the best to invest in? If you're I want you to do two scenarios. So if you're going into gaming currently, if you're a new gamer, which one should you buy? And if you're a gamer that actually games now currently, which one should you buy?
Okay, so if you're a new gamer and if
Yeah.
you haven't gamed before, I think a wide array of games would be suitable for you. I don't think you'll be hung up on spec. I don't think you'll be hung up on resolution, frame rates, the like.
Yeah.
All those arguments we hear from Microsoft and Xbox. I think you should go for the PlayStation 5 if you're a new gamer. But
Yeah.
like different analysis can be made on what to buy. Like from a utilitarian perspective, you want to buy the best console, right? The best console in terms of specs. If you want to do that, buy the Xbox Series X. But you won't have as many exclusives and as many exclusive games as the PlayStation 5. So that's trouble. And most of the exclusive games that are offered by Sony have been touted as one of the best games in the console space, right? Generally in the game space. And if you're interested in games and not that hung up on frame rates, resolution, the like, I think you should go for PlayStation 5. And I think that is the majority of users. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree with you completely. As if you're a gamer that used to game a lot, and now if you're a gamer that's enthusiastic about games generally, and if you want new games to play and new experiences to have, I think the PlayStation 5 is the best alternative you should go with since they have a lot of exclusive games incoming. I've mentioned some of them as well. I think they have more in the pipeline, more in the future as well. So I think the PlayStation 5 is the right way to go. But I also think the Xbox is also a good value for people that are entering the game, entering to the gaming situation, because I believe there is a more I think the general UI and generally the things they're offering in the Xbox, especially I think when it comes to streaming movies, watching, playing games, and at the same time having a good experience generally, I think the Xbox might be good if the price is. I think if Kale's price is mentioned, if that's the price of the Xbox, I think the Xbox is for anyone that's joining the gaming scene. I think that's the best way to go in since the price is really low.
Yeah, but do you think Xbox or Microsoft, sorry, is expecting to beat Sony we on the console war? I don't think so.
I
I don't think they're expecting to win.
no, I don't think.
But I think they're
Yeah,
expecting to have a larger share of the market.
most
I
definitely.
think they're expecting a larger market
Yeah,
share, especially when compared to the Xbox One and PS4 release.
Yeah,
because that was so much.
yeah. So I think it's a bit skewed for me. As you can see, like if the Xbox had, good exclusive games, you would actually think that if since the price is really cheap, you might have both of the consoles with you. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
That's a
Some people
possibility.
definitely will do
Some
that.
people will definitely do that. Since the price is really low, if it goes for under $350, people will do that. I can't imagine that being a scenario. But for the current scenario, I think they're going to be around $450 plus, at least, at the very least. Especially the standard version of the PlayStation and the Xbox, they're going to have that kind of price. So in that case, I think the PlayStation currently and still wins
Console war.
the console completely. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I
yeah,
agree.
yeah. I think on that note, I think that should be an end for the first episode of the Altopatic podcast. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and I think Carol and me hope you subscribe to the channel, like the channel, and also give us your thoughts about which console you prefer. And now, if you really believe if you think the Xbox wins, please present your argument in the comment section. Now you'll surely get a response from us. And thank you and goodbye.